Since voters chose Ned Lamont as their next governor. Since then, Lamont has made his priorities clear: tolls, increasing the minimum wage, paid family leave, legalizing marijuana. Meanwhile, Republican candidate Bob Stefanowski, who campaigned on eliminating the income tax and zero-based budgeting, has returned to private life. So what's he been up to, and what does he think about how his opponent is handling the seat so far? Let's ask. Bob Stefanowski joins us this morning. Welcome back.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so what have you been up to?
Well, there's about 4 to 6 weeks where you just get reacquainted with your family. Then we got into the holidays, but I'll tell you, since the start of this year, I've started to pay a lot more attention to what's going on. I'm very concerned with some of the rhetoric coming out of this new administration. In fairness to Governor Lamont, he hasn't put his budget together yet. I think we need to give him a chance to do that, but some of the discussions are pretty scary, what we're hearing right now.
You're talking, I would assume, about a possible grocery tax, the tax on medicines. Yeah. What's going through your head when you hear those?
Well, I think back to the debates. I mean, Ned and I both looked each other in the eye, and I heard that there were going to be no tolls on cars. I heard that there were not going to be any new taxes. I heard that we were going to try to stimulate economic growth. 8 short weeks later, you've got a freshman senator in Greenwich talking about tolling everything, cars and everything. You've got a grocery tax. You've got a tax on prescription medicine. So that whole dialogue, which I was very hopeful that we managed as part of the campaign, seems to have gone out the window when we're back to a tax and spend progressive agenda.
And again, he said he's floating a bunch of proposals out there to see. I remember during the campaign he did talk about possibly expanding the sales tax base. But what's the strategy here? Because groceries are something that are generally not going to be taken well by people in Connecticut when they hear
it. Well, an expansion of a sales tax to new products is a tax increase. So I know that was talked about, but you can't say you're not going to raise taxes and then 3 hours later say we're going to apply taxes to new goods and services. That's a tax increase. The fundamental problem is this state is on a fiscal cliff right now. There's been no discussion of tax cuts. There's been no discussion of spending cuts. There's been no discussion of the $100 billion underfunded pension plan and how we're going to renegotiate CBAC to deal with it. So again, all of this stuff, the fiscal discipline has been right out the window, but I want to keep emphasizing the governor hasn't presented his budget yet. I'm hoping that he's going to show leadership, that he's going to push back this progressive side of the House, and that he's going to get the discussion back to what really matters, which is cutting spending, reducing liabilities, and getting this economy moving.
It seems like so far he's been able to foster a bipartisan look at things. I mean, Senator Len Fasano, while he doesn't like some of the policies proposed, has been able to work with him on some things. Feels like he genuinely, this is what Len Fasano said, that Lamont wants to do what's right for Connecticut, and that they've listened to their proposals, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Has that been helpful, do you think?
I believe that. I mean, Governor Lamont and I sat down after the election. He was kind enough to call me, and we had a nice lunch together. I do think he wants the right thing for the state. The difference is in the approach. We cannot have another 4 years of tax and spend. And if you look at the rhetoric since the first of the year, it's been all about higher taxes and more spending. And we just got done with that over 8 years. We need fundamental cost reform. One of the things I was going to do was apply zero-based budgeting and come in and look at every single department and take out cost. Again, maybe it's coming in the budget that we're going to see in 3 weeks, but none of the discussion coming out of the legislature, none of the discussion in the press has been about anything other than more giveaways. And we can't continue down that path, Jen.
Do you think that Lamont has a business background, right? But you had kind of mentioned this a second ago. The progressive Democratic ranks have grown in the legislature. Yeah. Do you think he's going to have more headbutting with people in his own party or the Republicans?
I think he may have been better off with a minority in the House or the Senate. This progressive caucus scares the heck out of me. Some of the things they're talking about, and I would love to have a lot of freebies and giveaways and raise the minimum wage and free college tuition, but this state is in an economic crisis. Nobody's been talking about that since the election. We have to get our finances in order. We have to get the economy moving. We have to bring jobs back to Connecticut. We have to grow our way out of the situation that we're in. We have had 8 years of taxing and spending, and it doesn't work.
Does this desire to serve for you, is that still there? I mean, could we see you running for politics again?
I don't know about running again, Jen. It was a great experience. But I absolutely want to stay involved. I didn't want to get this vocal this early. I was trying to be quiet and stay in the background and see how things are going. But when you hear the rhetoric over the last 3 weeks, I felt it was my responsibility to stand up and start to say something. Again, I know I've said it a couple times. We'll see what's in the budget, but the discussion in the press right now is scary, some of the things we're talking about. It is exactly what the state of Connecticut does not need. We spent the last 3 days talking about a grocery tax in a state that's essentially bankrupt with a $100 billion pension obligation, and we're spending our time talking about taxing groceries. At some point, I'm hoping this governor shows the leadership to get the discussion back on track.
Are you working right now, or what's going on? You're back in Madison, right?
Yes. Yeah, I have a consulting business. I've been over to Europe a couple times. But as I said, I'm keeping a very close eye on what's going on in the state of Connecticut. I owe it to the 650,000 people that voted for me. I owe it to the Republican Party to try to hold this administration to the promises that they made. There were real promises made as part of this campaign, and we can't throw them out the window 3 months after the election. We have to make sure we live up to the promises that were made.
Do you think that there's another role that you could find in Connecticut? You're saying that you think it's your responsibility to kind of stand up and be that counter voice. Is there something else that you would look at? I mean, did the Lamont administration offer you a chance to serve with them?
We had lunch, but it was a very high-level lunch. I'll do anything I can to help the state right now. I met a ton of great people. I've got a much better sensitivity to the issues facing the state. I still go through restaurants this morning, people shaking my hand saying, I wish you had done it, you got close. The governor did not get a majority of the state. It was 49% to 46%. There are a lot of people that agreed with the platform that we put out there as Republicans. I think we need to keep strong. We need to keep vocal. We need to do it in a respectful way. We need to wait for the budget to come out, but I'm absolutely going to stay involved and make sure our voice is heard.
All right. Former candidate for governor Bob Stefanowski. Won't be the last we're hearing from you, I don't think. Appreciate you coming on the show.